Those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all Nerds International. With the hyphen.
Alright, YouTubes, it's Mr. Mean coming at you from Beaumont, Texas. Anyways, today's video du jour, it is Sunday, it's about noon. The rain has stopped. It poured down yesterday. We got a deluge of weather. Had my Saturday gaming session. We played Uncharted Worlds. It went rather well. It was fun. Ending was a little bit lackluster, but that was all on me. I blame me. I ran out of steam. It happens, you know. I got a baby full day. My wife is sick, so I took care of the baby for pretty much all day. She's fighting the flu, and now it appears I'm coming down with it. My throat's all scratchy and sore. So hopefully I can shake this before tomorrow and I go back to work. But Uncharted, it was fun. The process up to the ending was great. I ran out of idea. One of the things with Uncharted Worlds and these Powered by the Apocalypse games is that they're very open-ended. So you can have a plot, you can have a theme, but the players are going to dictate where the game goes. And you can railroad them to a certain extent, but I think if you do it too much, it's no fun for them. And I don't like railroading. That's why I don't like running pre-published adventures, because, you know, it's a start, a middle, and an end. And they tell you how to get there. And if the players deviate, which players will always deviate, you have to creatively think on the fly on how to get them back to where you need them to be. And that's why I like Uncharted Worlds, because I like a good sci-fi game. The cool part is we had a session last night. We played for about 3 hours, no combat. It was all storytelling, and it was a lot of fun. It's just the ending. I had basically one of my players was playing a spy type guy, older gentleman who had retired from being a spy and was out, you know, plying his wares in the galaxy, so to speak, after retiring from being a spy. And I thought he was going to play that character, but unfortunately another player had made a character very similar to that. And so I was like, ugh. And so my friend Joshua decided to make a different character, still kind of in that vein. He didn't get to do a whole lot in the game, and I felt his pain and his displeasure. And it sucks because I hate, you know, I don't want to ever feel like I waste anybody's time. But I kind of felt like he made he made 2 roles for the night. And one of the roles was it was inconsequential because they didn't really find anything. And that was bad GMing on my part. We all have our off days. I was really super excited to run the game. I still think it's an awesome, fun game. I still think I enjoy running it. In fact, I know I do. I don't think. But it just, the adventure didn't go kind of the way I wanted it to go. Part of that was, like I said, the players swapped out character on me, and I'd had this, basically she was an ex-lover, ex-spy, and she had lots of influence in the galaxy, and she had set up a cruise liner to explode, and basically was using him as a scapegoat to get him to do things because she wanted to manipulate him. And it was going to be a love kind of thing, and I was going to throw it in there, and it was going to be cool because his old character was very cool about that and stuff. And then the new character really, so I winged it, basically pulled it out of my ass, as the old saying goes, and it fell apart at the end. I ran out of steam, which is my own personal thing. I was very tired. And then on top of that, I didn't think logically about the progression of the story. And one of the things you have to do in these Powered by the Apocalypse games is you have to think about the story. You have to have an idea of where they're going to go and what you kind of want to happen, because it's all narrative, so you can just say whatever. And what happened is, I'll be honest, I got lazy, I got tired, and I just said, oh, well, you know, she crashes the ship and explodes it so they could collect the insurance money, which the ship was as huge as a city. I mean, it was a giant luxury liner called the Galaxy Sprite. Feel free to steal it and use it in your games. And everything up until that point was actually pretty good. And then he had a really cool... The cool part was at the very end of the story, he has his one trick, which if you know Uncharted Worlds, every character has a shtick. They're one thing that they're super good at, and he has command. And so he did it, and he aced the role, and so he got them to do, he got the captain and everything and the security to listen to him about, hey, there's a bomb on the ship. We need to get everybody off. And he role-played it very well. And my friend Joshua is, we've been friends for about a year now. He's an excellent role player. He's an excellent GM. And I feel like I have to push the bar. I have to strive higher to meet his expectations, and I feel that I let him down last night. So I was a little bummed about that. But we'll play it again, and I'll make it up to him. I had some decent prep in. I just got thrown a curveball when he switched characters, which was okay. I mean, and a good GM should be able to adjust for that, and I didn't, so it's my bad. So Joshua, I'm sorry, buddy. I'll make it up to you. But today's video du jour, my little rant on the side out, and my beard is just all over the place. Maybe I should trim this shit, huh? What do you think? No, I won't. Refuse! Anyway, I did a video a couple of weeks ago about Genesys, the new open-ended narrative storytelling RPG from Fantasy Flight Games. And I posted my review on Fantasy Flight's forum. And I got a lot of great reviews, and a big thank you to everybody who came over here to YouTube to watch my video and comment and everything. But one of the things I saw on all of the reviews, and one of the posters, and I apologize I don't remember your name, but he posted on my review that all the reviews he's seen haven't talked about the game on its own. All they did was compare it to Star Wars. And that's a fair analogy. That's a fair criticism, because this game is basically, it takes its roots from Star Wars. I mean, it is the same game engine. The mechanics are tweaked just slightly, but it's the same game. I mean, if you could run Star Wars with this and not need the Star Wars books, and it would feel like Star Wars. So I wanted to do basically a follow-up video. I haven't had a chance to run Genesys yet. But one of the things we're going to talk about this afternoon is Genesys. And I want to talk about it on its own, because there was a fair criticism from everybody out there in the YouTube world, not just me. And I went back and I watched my own video, and yeah, I basically touted how this is just like Star Wars, but you can play any genre you want to play. And I talked about some of the upcoming products for it and everything, which is great, but I didn't tell anything about the game. And so I wanted to kind of clear that up. The game's been out for about a month now, so hopefully you've had a chance to pick it up and form your own opinion. But if you haven't and you're still on the fence, hopefully this will help you. So let's get the 10-ton gorilla out of the way. If you haven't watched my first video, this is the same engine as Star Wars: Edge of the Empire, Force and Destiny, and Age of Rebellion. It's the same game. It's just a different flavor. What you get in this book, well, I'm going to go through it a couple different ways. First thing I want to approach is the art. Book has got a lot of criticism about its lack of art. And I think, in my humble opinion, people are missing the boat. This book is touted as a toolbox. This book is saying, here's a generic, keyword there, generic system, Genesys. See what they did there? Generic. So there is no one style that's right. Every style is right. The art is a very almost M.C. Escher, black and white, half drawings, some color, and like here, we've got some black and white art with splashes of color, and almost to the part where it looks like it's a sketch and it's not completely done. Here's another good one, kind of a sci-fi setting. The point here is Fantasy Flight and the writers and the developers of this game want you to create your own worlds. If you want to play Star Wars, go buy Edge of the Empire. Don't buy this and try to make this fit Star Wars, which, again, you could do, but there's no need to do that. Why invent the wheel when the wheel's already made and it's sitting right in front of you? Pick it up and use it. So this game touts itself as a toolbox. It's a generic system. It's made, you want to play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in a post-apocalyptic world where bread is the currency. You can do that. This game allows you to do that. It encourages you to do that. It uses a tiered system of powers. Each tier has to be greater than the previous. So, if you want tier 1, you have to have a tier 1 power before you can buy a tier 2 power. You want to buy a tier 3 power, you got to have 2 tier 2 powers in order to buy the first tier 3 power. And so it keeps building on itself like a pyramid, an upside down pyramid. And I think that's cool. The powers and abilities that are listed in here are very generic, and they even give you the ability to say, okay, this is for a pulp setting, or this is for a horror setting, or this is for a sci-fi setting. So they give you kind of the different genres that it will work in, that power, whatever it may be. And of course there's sci-fi and there's modern, and so you want to do werewolves in World War II, you can do that. You want to do aliens abducting humans and doing horrible experiments on them in the 1900s, you can do that. Gaslight, alien invasion by gaslight, you can do that. This game will support anything. And then the next step of what they do is they go through and they give you a couple of different settings. And in those settings, they give you just the basics to get your creative juices flowing. And what I would say is sit down with your players and say, okay, we're going to do aliens invading in the 1950s. Okay, we're going to hit the web. We're going to get a little bit of knowledge. Everybody knows a little bit of something about the 1950s, especially if you're in school and you're going through American history. You've got your history books. You can pull that out. You can look at the 1950s. You can go to the library. You've got resources. My point is that you got resources out there that you can go look up, and you can find out information about 1950s America. And then you've already got an idea of your aliens and your sci-fi and everything. And you put the two together, and it's like peanut butter and jelly. Two great tastes that taste great together. So the nice part is this book is a catalyst for that. It's made for whatever idea you have to put it together and make it work. And so they give you a couple different settings, and I'm going to say it here, and I already said it on the Fantasy Flight forums. I called it. No one else called it that I'm aware of. I'm the first one to call it, that said Tyranoth was going to be their first splat book. And guess what? Tyranoth splat book for fantasy. I will be getting that. I will be doing a review of it because they use that setting in their Rune Wars and also in their Descent game. And in their, I think Mage Wars uses it as well. So it's their default. They own the rights to it. So, hey, what better source book to put out than something you already own? You don't have to pay anybody. It's your IP. You can roll with it. And so I'm looking really forward to that. That'll be out. They haven't said exactly when it's coming out, but that it is coming out. So I'll probably try to pick that up and do a review of that. It's a very cool setting. Descent uses it as their default fantasy setting, so I like it. You're going to be familiar if you've played Descent or you've played Rune Wars. You're familiar with the characters. You're familiar with the nuances of the setting, and so it's going to be nice to pull it in and have a fresh new fantasy setting that we can actually role play in. And the nice part is, if you're on the Descent forums, for years people have been clamoring for an RPG set in the Tyranoth universe, in the Fantasy Flight's Descent universe. They've been asking for it, and so now they finally get it. So that's awesome. So I'm looking forward to that. What will be their second source book? I say it will be a hard sci-fi, and it'll be Twilight Imperium, because they already own the rights to it, and they give you a taste of it in here. Like in here, the first setting is a fantasy setting, and it's Tyranoth basically. They don't come out and say it. At least I don't think they do. I can't remember, but they do hint at it, and the art is from Descent that they use in here. So that's going to be cool. And so I think their next splat book, and I'm going to say it here first, is going to be Twilight Imperium, off of the awesome board game and card game that they have out. And so you'll be able to play in that universe as well. So I think that's super cool. So again, this is not Star Wars. As the old saying goes, this is not your father's Star Wars. This is its own system, its own set of dice. Now, they are very similar to the Star Wars dice. There's a chart in here if you don't want to go out and buy the funky dice, or you don't want to download the program from Fantasy Flight. It's like $5 on Android and iOS. There's a number of dice rollers on the web for if you're a PC or a Mac user, so you don't have to go out and buy those dice. There's also a conversion chart in here to tell you what you rolled on a D12, what that equates to, what that number equates to on the Genesys dice. They did the same thing for Star Wars, so they're not forcing you to go out and buy the dice, but it does make it a lot easier. I know some people have bought transfer paper, little stickers, and you can buy them that match the sides of the dice for whatever, an 8-sided, 10-sided, 12-sided, so on and so forth. And you can print the stickers and you can put them on there. So that's kind of cool. So again, you don't need to buy the dice. It's a nice to have, and they give you the conversion process for regular polyhedrals if you want to use those. So I guess the big thing is don't feel like you have to go out and spend $15 on a set of dice, or all of your players. If you got a large game group of 8 players, which they exist, I used to have one, you don't expect everybody to go out and buy a $15 set of dice. So it's understandable. I do own the Star Wars dice app. I personally don't feel a need to go out and buy the Genesys app. I already have the Star Wars app, so it will work. I mean, the symbols are very similar. They're nuanced difference. I mean, you can definitely tell what they are without, freaking out. And also the color of the dice are exactly the same. Sorry, my throat is killing me, so a little water. Yeah, so you don't have to buy the dice. You can use the game without the dice. There's a number of cool resources out there already on the Fantasy Flight website to support this game. Some people have coming up with some great, fantastic ideas. One of the guys is doing a Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader Inquisitor type deal. And it's coming along really awesome. It looks great. So I don't remember your name. I'm sorry. I probably should have checked the forums before I did it so I could give you proper prompts. But I will say, if you watch this video, keep up the great work because your stuff is looking amazing. There's a couple of people up there doing all different kinds of different settings and stuff, and they look amazing. So there's really talented people out there. And I mean, I can't say enough good about it. It's very cool. So if you're looking for a generic system and you want to make your own world, or you have ideas for your own world, but you're not sure on a game mechanic, I would say this is your choice. I mean, this is solid. And the nice part is, as of right now, this is the only book you need to buy. And this is $39.95. Yeah, so $40. Now, the Tyranoth book is going to be $50. I did see that, which it's Fantasy Flight's pricing, and I don't necessarily agree with it because, the Tyranoth book isn't going to be as thick as this. It's going to be close, but it's not going to be as robust as this. So you're paying $10 more for a very specific book, and I think it should have been the other way around. But I see their logic. Get you in cheap, and then you'll buy everything else you want. So there's two schools of logic. You can go either way. I would have rather have had this be the expensive book and then paid cheaper for the setting book, because I'm not going to want all the setting books. And I think that's what they're counting on. They're like, oh, some people are only into fantasy, so they're only going to buy the fantasy related stuff. So we're gonna sell them more expensive. I get it. Fantasy Flight makes a great product. I've never really had one of their books fall apart on me. So this one's sewn and stitched, and it appears to be glued because I can hear the glue creaking. So it's a quality book. I've already went over the art, went over a little bit of the contents. So I think if you're on the fence, or you want a good generic system that you can run your world in with a little creativity to create the powers and stuff if they're not already in here, but there's a really good generic list of stuff in here. Whether you're going to be a sci-fi or a horror game or whatever, there's a lot of cool stuff in here already that you can use and will work for your game. So there should be very little hard customization that you'll have to do. It's pretty much already factored in, and so it's pretty easy in that aspect. So I think, again, in closing on this subject, a lot of reviews were done, and they compared it to Star Wars, and I see why people were saying, I want to know about the game. I already know about Star Wars, and I don't like it, or I do like it. I want to know about Genesis. Is it worth buying on its own? Do I need to know Star Wars in order to play this? No, you don't. This is its own game. It is a generic system. It stands on its own. You don't need to be familiar with any of the Star Wars, Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, or Force and Destiny. You don't even need to own those books. You don't need to own the dice. This is all you need. Buy the Tyranoth set when it comes out if you want a good fantasy setting and it's your cup of tea. I mean, you can go on Fantasy Flight's website and you can read up about it, and they've got a lot of fluff and stuff on their website. So you can kind of look at it and go, oh, well, maybe I'll try that fantasy setting. I'm going to run it for my group because I'm very interested in the Tyranoth setting. So you don't need to buy anything but this and maybe one set of dice if you're that type of person. I'm a completionist. My local game store had the dice. I had the money at the time, so I bought them. I'm glad I got a set, because at least when I'm rolling the dice, I don't have to convert from Star Wars dice to Genesys dice. And again, it's very easy. It take you one session, you'll pick up on it. But I think for your players, don't make them go out and buy dice unless they want to. You can say, hey guys, I'm going to run Genesys. Go out and buy the dice if you want, or buy the app on your phone. But don't feel the need. I myself, I have like 6 pairs of Star Wars dice. So I don't expect my players to go out and buy anything to play a game that I want to run. The point is I want to run it, so I should facilitate that, and so I buy extra dice. For this, I'm not going to buy extra dice because, like I said, I have the Star Wars dice. But if you don't have the Star Wars dice, buy yourself a set, and then maybe let your players know that they're out there, and it would help. But maybe do 1 or 2 sessions, see if you like it, if it jives with your style of storytelling. The Genesys system is very much a fail-forward type of system. In other words, you're going to roll a dice pool based on your character's abilities and stats, and you're going to roll those dice, and it's going to tell you whether you succeed or not, and if you got any advantages or complications, or if you had a tragedy or a critical success. And all of that is told by one set of dice, which is nice. And there are times where, your barbarian is trying to see if he can see the archer up on the hill, and he's going to roll a despair, and he's going to roll a whole bunch of failures, and he's not going to get any successes, or he'll get a triumph but no successes. Well, shit, did I see it? And then it's up to the GM and the player to narrate what actually happened. So in that instance, I would say you see the archer, you realize you can't get to him this round. He got a despair. Well, the archer's going to get a shot off at you before you get there. Or maybe you trip and drop your shield, and so now you have no protection. So the archer's going to get an advantage die against you when he shoots. And you fail forward. So you can't get to the archer, but you did see him, which is kind of what you wanted to do anyway, but now you've got some complications on top of it. And it's really much a back and forth between the players and the GM. And I've found that in this type of game, it keeps all of the players interested, because there are things where if the player does something cool and he gets a bunch of extra advantages, he can give those advantages out as boost dies or advantage die to the other player. So the other players are going to want to pay attention and say, hey, I'll take one of those advantage dies. If you're sitting there playing on your phone and you don't hear the other player say, ooh, I got 3 advantages, who wants one? Then you're shit out of luck. And I think that's rude to the other players and the GM and to yourself as well. So in this case, it to me, it helps facilitate keeping everybody in the moment, which I like games that do that. Powered by the Apocalypse games do that. Uncharted World does that. Dungeon World does that. All those types of games. So this is another one where it as long as you're weaving a decent story, you'll keep people interested, and they'll want to participate, and they'll want to pay attention. And that's always a good thing when you're sitting around a table for 4 or 5 hours with your friends, doing collaborative storytelling. So long story short is buy the game. I think it's worth it. I'm looking forward to see where Fantasy Flight goes with this. I post these videos up on the Fantasy Flight forums as well. I also have a Discord channel. I'll make sure I put a link to my Discord channel in the video. And then come over and check out my Discord channel and chat with me. I'm online. I work in IT, so I'm online all day long. So I can usually answer questions or just happy to talk about games and stuff. I'm always happy to meet you guys because you take the time out to watch my videos, and I appreciate it. And so I'm just a little guy trying to have a little fun here, and I do these things, for my own fun, but for you guys. There's a lot of videos out there that are very pomp and professional and fading graphics and everything. And after you watch it, you still don't know if you like the game or not. I hope that my attitude, Mr. Mean, I come across and I tell you what you want to hear. I tell you what you don't want to hear. I've done a couple game reviews for companies that have sent me product. So far, most of them have been, I think actually all of them have been very positive. I haven't reviewed one game where I went, this is utter shit. But I tell the purveyors of those games, hey, It's going to be brutally honest. Either I like it or I don't, or it might be a meh. But I'm going to tell the people, and it's my opinion. And I always state that, hey, they sent me this game for free. I'm doing a review of it. Here's my thoughts. Just because they send me a free game doesn't mean it automatically gets this is a great game, you should go out and buy it. It just gets it a review. I like to stand on my morals and my principles and think that, obviously I can't be bought. A big inspiration for me is Kurt Weigel, the game master, because his reviews are pretty concise. They're very short usually. He typically doesn't do long. I do long videos compared to him. My videos are on average 15 to 30 minutes on average. I can't even see the clock. I got new contacts, so I can see great distance, but up close everything's blurry. We're coming up on 25 minutes, and I've still got some other stuff to talk about. So anyway, get it. This is the bottom line. If you're looking for a generic system, something that's relatively easy to learn, $40 for this, $15 for the dice, so you got what, $55 is your buy-in price. That's cheaper than most, D&D books or most any other RPG on the market right now. So go ahead and pick it up, get yourself a set of those funky dice, and have fun. Tell stories in crazy worlds that you want to tell, and we'll go from there. So the other thing I wanted to go from, and we're going to keep it short after this, is I did a review long ago, over a year ago. I can't find it in the archive, but I did a review of this hexagon. You can see that on the screen there. This is years ago, dude. This is hexagon. This is the large box, and this is by Pegasus Hobbies. I did a search. They are no longer in existence as far as I could tell. They may be, I think they're from Europe. I'm not sure. This is catalog number 4902 if you want to go out and get one on your own. It's a construction set. More ideas for your games. The large box. Quick fit. No glue needed. Contains over 100 detailed pieces. And I don't know what the miniatures are on there. If anybody knows, drop it down in the comments. But look at that gun down there. That gun is awesome. That pivot mounted gun, pintle mounted gun, and that little flyer, whatever it is. But you can make a cargo terminal. That's one of the things you can make. You can make a cargo terminal. There's some of the other settings you can use. And there's some more right there. Iron Fortress and a repair station. And what brought me to this is there's a company on Kickstarter right now called Tinker Turf. And they're doing a cardboard thing, and they're doing something kind of neat. They're doing black formed cardboard, meaning they put ink in the cardboard when they made the cardboard, so that when it's punch out terrain. It's punch out. It's very sturdy. You use a little bit of like Elmer's craft glue, and you can glue certain sections together, and then everything else clips together. And then they're using this black cardboard so that when you punch all the pieces out, you don't have that cardboard gray border or white border, depending on what kind of paper they use, so your stuff looks fake. It's black. It's really neat looking. And so go out there. There's a couple reviews. I'll try to put a link to the Kickstarter in my video. I was very impressed with it. I don't know what the stretch goals are yet. They haven't met their funding, but it looks super cool. It's going to be die cut. It's going to all be precision cut. It's going to look pretty sharp. It looks pretty neat. So I'm going to put a link to it up on the reviews. But I wanted to bring up Hexagon, if anybody remembers this. I picked this up years ago at a store in Vallejo, California called Ian's Games. He had this sitting on the shelf, and I bought it. It is still pristine. I've never punctured any of this stuff. It was in a box. I just found it last year when we moved into this house, and I did a review on it, but I can't find that review. I think it's bundled in with a bunch of other stuff, and so I don't have a picture of it up on the page. So anyway, if you have this, if you've used it, put a note down on the bottom and let me know how well it worked. Was it hard to put together? I'm gonna probably try to put it together. I've got some games coming up that I want to play. I've got some. I bought the Scrappers book, and I want to play Scrappers because it's a build your own campaign. It's kind of like Necromunda, and it looks pretty cool. The mechanics look pretty solid. I think some of that terrain will even work for Gaslands. I'm going to be playing that because I'm totally into the Car Wars type sci-fi, big guns on your cars kind of thing, and I get to go buy Matchbox cars and paint them up. So woohoo! So anyway, that's what Mr. Mean wanted to go over. I'll put a link to the Tinker Turf Kickstarter down there. Go check it out. Help them make their funding if you're into miniature games like Necromunda 40K. It's a fantasy, it's a sci-fi industrial based terrain set that they have right now. I don't know if they hit their Kickstarter. If they hit their goals, they may release fantasy stuff or not. I don't know. So go check it out. I'm going to put a link to it on the page here when I post this video, and give it a look. It looks really cool, and I'd like to back it if it's not too expensive. And it's also made here in the States, so you're supporting local businesses here in the States, which is always cool. So anyway, as always, that's Mr. Mean. Peace and hair grease, and as always, be nice.